That was really good.
That was a really good one.
Welcome
actually.
to another episode of Bros Park. We are on episode
34.
Yes, 34. You're welcome by yours truly, Jeff, and
Colin, and it is another BEA
beautiful day in the park.
So today,
We are going to be discussing,
yes,
as you can tell by the title of the video already, Solo Leveling 1 Anime of the Year.
and people are upset. Rightfully or unrightfully so, that's what we're here to discuss.
Nope, they're all wrong.
We're
We're going to discuss why Solo Leveling deserves
yes,
Anime of
yes,
the Year.
we're here to justify it somehow.
We are defending the Aura Glazers.
So before we get into the exact amazing,
I'm just saying, to defend the Glazers, you need to become a
Yeah.
Glazer yourself.
the amazing anime that is solo leveling, we need to talk about the Crunchyroll Awards process.
True.
So a lot of people think that it's just straight up fan votes and here we go. That's what it is. But Crunchyroll actually said a while ago that it is a 2-round phase basically to get these winners out. And
Double
the first
knockout.
round is a panel of judges. The panel of judges all vote towards the nominees for that category. And the top 6 go through to be the nominees for the second round.
Mm-hmm.
And now the second round involves the fan vote and this is the important part, and the judges again.
That's crazy. So it's not just a popularity vote.
It's not just the popularity.
That's
And
what I thought.
most people did.
Yep.
But from what it says, seemingly, the judges' votes actually carry more weight than the fan votes.
Bro.
Supposedly it's 70-30. I don't know if that's exactly true, but it could be 70-30 judges. So either way, this panel of judges seems like these experts are putting out that Solo Leveling 1
That's kind of
anime of the year.
That's kind of deceptive because no one knows about this, right?
It
I guess
doesn't
it's-
seem like it.
I guess it's in the fine print or something, but like
Yeah.
if you're just gonna vote for a show, you're not gonna read the fine print.
No, you're like, oh, I like this show. There you go. Boom. And that makes me think that if it is true that it's 30% fans, that means that if 100% of the fans voted free Ren. I like how we went free Ren. We didn't say like any of the other ones. It was just free
So
Ren.
I'm just saying,
If 100% of the fans voted free Ren, but all of the judges, which I guarantee you are less in number than the fans, voted Solo Leveling would still take it.
So that's kind of a conspiracy right there. And when you really think about it, when you when you're voting for Soul Leveling, you were voting for season 1 of Soul Leveling, not season 2, which was like airing at the same time.
So this is something that we were trying to figure out as well, because other ones that were nominated, such as Dan 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 or Kaiju number 8,
Konosuba.
yes, all these other ones, they were explicit with their titles. And what I mean by that is Kaiju number 8 just said Kaiju number 8 because there's no season 2. Dan 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 didn't say season 1 because there isn't a season 2 yet. But then when it came to Konosuba or ReZero or Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War, it was very explicit saying season 3 Konosuba.
Yep.
Season 2 of
Season 4 of
Oshinoko
ReZero,
or
whatever.
Yeah, Spy Family season 2.
Yeah.
It was very specific in the naming. Solo Leveling wasn't specific. And I don't know if they just left that out for people to assume that it's season 1. I don't know if maybe they were trying to leave it out for people to assume it's both seasons.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sussy.
But
kind of sus.
it seems like it was meant to think that it's both Solo Leveling seasons, but I don't actually think it was supposed to be.
Because like a lot of people who voted when they were voting for Soul Leveling, they had season 2 in mind. That's what we thought as well when we were like discussing our our nominations, who we thought were gonna win. We're like, oh wait, it's actually Soul Leveling season 1.
But the Biru fight was like a few weeks or a couple weeks before voting.
Yeah, right.
Which makes people think like, oh, Solo Leveling. Obviously, we're voting that.
Yeah,
But I don't actually think it was, because it was all the stuff that was supposed to be airing, quote unquote, last year, right? So, or maybe its last year counts all the way up to the awards. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just
it just feels weird.
Kind of sus.
Is it both seasons of it? Is it only one season?
Kind of felt like they were kind of waiting towards So I'm just kidding. I don't think I don't think it's like no one's thinking that far ahead.
You can put your tinfoil hats on if
No
you
one's
want.
thinking
That's
that far
fine.
ahead.
Go for it. But for us, where we stand, we're like, I would have liked some more
Yeah.
explicitness in this. You know.
A lot of coincidences are pointing towards one thing.
Yep. And
But
Solo
are-
Leveling didn't just win Best
Yeah,
Anime.
are they just coincidences though? But
Yeah.
but fair enough.
Yeah.
Soul Loving deserves Anime of the Year in my opinion.
And main character and what soundtrack and
Soundtrack,
English voice acting
action, too?
and action and like it won everything it was nominated for -2, I think.
okay, I think it definitely deserves the English dub.
I think
That's for
English dub. I think action, sure,
Yeah.
great. If we're just talking about that, I don't know if I would agree with soundtrack or I think what was the other one? OP or something?
sure. The ending song.
Was it ending? Okay,
Yeah, it was the ending.
I don't, whatever. But like those are different conversations. You can have those. I think those are getting into a narrower track,
Yeah,
which like you can then make an argument for, but not today. We are making the argument for Solo Leveling Best Anime. Would you like to start?
Yeah, you know what? I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah.
Let's
take
talk
it away.
about let's talk about a Song Hunter.
Okay, let's talk about Song Hunter.
Like
Yeah.
yeah. We could talk about season 1. We may as well talk about season 2 as well.
We're gonna talk about both seasons because we're assuming most people thought of it as both seasons.
Yeah, like the guy is from a character analysis point of view,
Yeah.
the guy's been through a lot, like he
Has he? Has he been through a
Yeah.
lot?
So
Okay.
whatchamacallit? His mom is in the what's it called? The mana curse disease. where, she doesn't
The
have
eternal
enough-
sleep.
Yeah, she doesn't have enough mana, so she's comatose the whole time.
Yeah, she's eternal sleep.
Yeah. So this guy, this young strapping
He wasn't strapping.
young little cuck boy.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
He had to be the sole provider for his little sister
Yep.
and for himself, man. Like
Yep.
that's a lot for a young gentleman to go through.
Which also, if we're talking about season 1, what he looked like originally, he looked like the younger brother to the sister. The sister looks older than what he looked like originally.
And also, because this guy has like no skills whatsoever,
yeah.
and also he has no goddamn mana.
Yeah, no
He's
riz,
E-class.
no
He's actually
nothing,
the
yeah.
worst hunter. He's actually labeled the worst hunter.
Yeah, of mankind.
Like, and when people see him in like a hunt,
Yep.
they're like, or a dungeon, they're like, awesome, this is gonna be a weak ass dungeon.
Yep.
Easy sailings from here.
Yep.
So like having that title and going through everything that he has to go through just to scrape enough money to put food on the plates for him and his sister
Mhm.
and to afford the mom's medical bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot the kid has to go through.
Okay, is that the only justification you have for it to be best anime?
No, I'm just going off, just going off the character.
Okay, yeah, just the
'cause,
character.
Like, characters, stories, actions,
Mhm.
soundtrack, they all go feed towards end of the year.
Yes. So, can you come up with a rebuttal as to why the most disliked episode of Solo Leveling was the only story progression episode with feelings and emotions of him crying because his mother woke up from eternal sleep?
We'll
Yeah,
get to that.
Okay, we'll get there.
He has to. He even the first double dungeon he goes to,
Yeah.
he has to sacrifice himself. He chooses to sacrifice himself for
Yes.
the greater good to save the most amount of people. And
Sure.
through doing so, he becomes a player. He
Yeah,
unlocks
he becomes
the system's
the
help.
player. Yeah.
Yeah. And through that, he gets stronger.
Yeah.
Even-
And hotter.
albeit, he's dumping all his stats into strength and not intelligence because he's an idiot.
Yeah, because he's not smart enough to put it into intelligence. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
long story short, he's able to, find the cure for his mother
Okay.
and, revives her. And they have
And here's that episode.
and
It's
they
a
have
touching moment.
They have the most touching,
It's
heartfelt
beautiful.
moment when, she wakes up and he can finally see her awake for the first time in, I don't know, like 5 years, 10 years,
It's a while. Yeah. I forget.
a
how
long time.
Yeah.
And, it's beautiful.
Okay. So why was it the most disliked episode by fans then?
Well, because I think the fans are, they got that brain rot. They got that
yeah.
drool going down
Yeah.
their cheeks.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like, oh, there's no action anymore.
Yep. 100%.
Duh.
Yeah. All right. So there was one touching moment. Okay.
Yeah, it was beautiful, man.
And you think that makes it anime of the year?
No, it's you see his whole progression, like every trial, tribulation,
You mean every fight?
every struggle that he
Every
went
fight.
through
Yeah.
was all for the purpose of, saving his mom.
Yeah,
Like, he was
100%.
able to do that.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly?
Yes, I have. It's great.
Because it's an hour and a half of just fucking kick him to the curb, haymakers, just throw down.
Yeah, Broly's OP.
And they're doing it to save the world, and that's beautiful. That's what this show was. It was 2 seasons of just kick him to the curb, throw him down, and like let's talk about the fights for a second because that's what people are gonna remember. You know why they remember that? Because there's no story. Okay,
Dude, what are you
not in the anime. I'm sure in the manhwa there was way more progression from.
No,
what I
but we're
hear.
talking about the anime. Dude,
But we're talking about the anime, right?
Dude, story wise, he has to go through all of these dungeons
100%.
to get stronger. He needs money.
Okay, yeah.
He needs he needs special ingredients, so he has to go through like the hell.
Okay, to justify this
dungeon.
as best anime, you have to compare it to the stories of the other animes nominated.
No, we're going isolated.
No.
This
It's
is a story.
It
of
is a voting.
This is a
against
story
each
of a
other.
young man who
Yeah.
wants to overcome his limitations.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah,
and yeah.
And guess what? Frieren had a good story. I would say better, almost, but we're not here to
Hey
vote.
man,
Frieren
Frieren didn't even struggle at all.
Oh,
She had no struggle
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. And what about Okarun in Dan Dan Dan? He had some struggles.
Yeah,
He
well-
lost his balls and his fucking banana, dude.
But the thing is, there's no stakes. There's no
What do you
stakes.
mean
There's no stakes.
There's no stakes.
Comparing to solo leveling, this guy he has
Yeah,
to
yeah.
save his mom. He needs to provide food and money.
Oh, food and saving a family member. Let's talk
Exactly.
about Delicious in Dungeon, which was voted. It's like they have to get food from the dungeon and also save
you know
the
what's
sister.
the crazy thing about Delicious Dungeon?
Yeah, yeah.
You could die in the dungeon.
You
and
could,
then-
yeah.
and then get revived. Easy.
Okay, but you're not always
So,
revived.
so there's no danger.
But you can't always be revived. What do you mean?
I'm just saying.
Because also in solo leveling, he died and then got revived as a player.
No, he didn't die.
Oh, he didn't die. So there's no danger.
He got like 0.2 seconds.
So there's no danger.
After that, he can die.
Yeah, so who died in the dungeons in solo leveling? I'm pretty sure it was everyone that he fucking killed. Those were the people that died in the dungeons.
Well, no, there's just multiple casualties
Okay.
overall in the whole of the world.
Yeah.
People die in dungeons.
Yeah.
The first dungeon, everybody died basically, except for the few that he sacrificed himself to
Okay,
save.
yeah.
And then after that, there's also just a bunch of assholes too.
Yeah,
There's
that
just
he
a bunch
killed,
of
that he was the one that killed.
They tried
Yeah.
to off him first,
I
so
mean,
he had to
yeah,
retaliate.
True, but I'm just saying in Delicious in Dungeon, he's trying to save his sister from death because it won't be a revive situation. If it was, they wouldn't go save her from the dragon.
But keep in mind,
Yeah, keeping in mind.
this is a party of people
Okay, yeah.
who are trying to save the sister.
So companions
But
make a
but
good
the
story.
thing is, Jinwoo only has himself.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you're arguing for main character. We're talking about best anime.
Yeah, it is the best anime.
Okay, yeah. You haven't given a single reason. I need more from you.
He's basically putting the whole entire quest line of save mother,
Mm-hmm.
provide shelter lodging for sister
Mm-hmm.
by himself. Do you know how hard that is?
I personally have not.
Well,
been in that
he's like the
situation.
weakest person, but then
Yeah.
thankfully he gets stronger. So then the task gets a little
Oh,
bit
thankfully,
not
yeah,
as
yeah.
hard, not as hard.
Well, I'd like to pinpoint the fucking ego of these people nicknaming because they're just in Korea, right? How dare they say you're the weakest hunter of mankind? They haven't fucking seen the American hunters or the Chinese
know, right?
hunters
So
or
then,
the Japanese.
He has to live with that title.
Yeah, the ego to say of mankind.
That's harsh,
And then they
man.
also have the other hunter. I forget his name. The flame hunter.
Oh, yeah,
the
the-
leader of the hunters.
like the
Hunter's
world's
Guild.
greatest weapon or
Yeah,
something.
world's great. How fucking egotistical is that as well? Because fucking Goto from Japan comes over and absolutely tears shit up. He's definitely fucking stronger than that guy because he fucking cowered behind Sung Jinwoo as he released his army in that training session.
True.
So what is the ego of these naming people in Korea saying like
It just goes to
strongest
show
of
how
mankind?
the world is so cutthroat and so oppressive that, like, you know, our boy Jinwoo
Yeah.
has to survive through it.
You're such a pseudo intellectual around this that it makes me want to hit you so badly.
What do you mean, man?
Shut the fuck.
I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to the mind of someone who
Oh, you're going into the mind of an average solo level watcher.
exactly
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
why it deserves anime of the year.
Mhm.
I'm just spitting out facts at this
I
point.
forgot that that's what we're arguing. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, right.
So
I thought we were on the
here's-
same
here's the
side.
thing, right? I think the fights are awesome.
Yeah.
100%. They're fucking sick.
And to be honest, when fight scenes are sick,
Yeah.
that carries a lot too.
100%. And you know what? I'm also a fucking rat-brained individual that loves hyphy fights.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking give me that animation in the bright colors. I know that some people didn't like it. Dude, when they went into like the Biru fight and he went full blue laser mode and Biru went full red laser mode and it was just the lasers on the screen. Fucking
Yeah,
mode.
hell
Sick.
yeah, dude.
Great. 100%. Scratch that itch for me, right? You can't tell me from like a story or progression point of view that there was any reason other than to be fucking aura farming to just have Biru and Sung Jinwoo fight with their fists for the first 5 minutes of the
Dude,
fight.
he needed to gauge the enemies.
He didn't have to gauge
strength.
shit. This guy killed Goto Ryuji in one shot. He killed
But
four other
how does he know that? Jinwoo doesn't know that, man.
He fucking does know that at this point. He says before the fight, he's like, he must have taken care of Goto outside.
Oh, seriously, said that?
Yeah, he fucking said that.
Well, to be honest, he just didn't know at the time, and also
Okay.
he didn't realize that the Korean team was getting dogged on too. That's why he showed up the very last second.
He did realize that. That's why he
Because-
showed up.
because he was able to save them in the nick of time.
Yeah, because he knew they were getting dogged. He was watching. You know why? Because the world was watching on camera.
Yeah, dude.
That the S rank Chaw Hunter got her fucking side split open by a backhand from Biru. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the giant guy had his arm ripped off from Biru, and Sung Jin Woo was like, he was at home and he was like, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
And then,
dude.
like,
He had to
strolled
He
down
had to
the street.
prepare. He had to prepare
And people were
and
like,
psych himself up.
again, people compare it to the manhwa where he was like at home and he was like, oh, I'm just going to the store for a second. And then he had to leave home to teleport, right? In the anime, he was sitting on a roof. He was up on the roof looking down and he was like, okay.
Should I go in now?
Exchange. Right? Like, he was on a roof. Don't fucking tell me he didn't have time to get there sooner. Right? Anyways, the hype fights were hype.
Yep.
100%. And honestly, I think story-wise, if you look at season 1, it's better than season 2. I think the story in season 1 was great. I think it was there.
And keep in mind, the music that played during these scenes were amazing.
it was the one song. It's like fucking Bleach when they go like
yeah,
about to have a fight. It's like, if you want to see some action.
you know what? It's amazing.
okay.
You know what? I love it. Everybody seems to love it, and that's why it won all these awards.
I like don't think that that's the reason they won these awards. I think the reason they won these awards is because it was the best anime overall in the category, right?
Exactly.
Obviously.
Exactly.
And that's what we're here to argue. So I think that, you know what? It was the most disliked episode for storyboarding because they wanted more story in all the other episodes. So I think that's why people really disliked it, because they were like, wow, you haven't been giving us this the whole time.
yeah, when he revived his mother.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
why they downvoted.
yeah, they
because
downvoted it.
because we want more
We
of this.
wanted this in all the other episodes. How dare you only sprinkle a little bit?
Exactly.
So I think that's why.
It was like a message to the
It was a message to the
It was a
animators.
message.
I honestly think it was voted best anime because fucking Chairman Gogan, he had the hardest rock hard.
Yeah, he's
boner
probably
for
one of the
Sung
best
Jin-woo.
side characters.
100%.
In terms of soul leveling, it has the richest and most diverse cast
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
characters and
Okay.
like side characters,
Mm-hmm.
minor characters, all that jazz. You
Yeah.
know.
100%. I think it was the widest, greatest spectrum of characters. I think that his little brother that he like adopted as the hunter guy, I forget his name, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah,
The
it's
mining company guy,
the,
or
the mule,
construction
his
company.
mule.
Yeah. I think he was a great character. So much development.
And like each and every character
Mm.
plays a pivotal role in all of the scenes in terms of, story,
Yep.
dialogue, and, whenever there's a fight, they are there present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're ready to help out.
And I think you I think you really care about the side characters. Like that, like you said, the mule guy, right? The the 10 seconds we saw of him arguing with his father made me really care
Yeah.
about his relationship with his father.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
when the healer girl in the very beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
Like-
She had PTSD because she couldn't save everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she had feelings for Jinwoo even
Yeah.
when he was weak.
Yeah. As in your own words, a little cuckboy. Yeah.
And then she realized like I'm not good enough for him, and also
Yes.
I can't handle these dungeons anymore. So
100%.
she basically wrote herself out of the story.
Yes, because she wasn't good enough for how
Exactly.
golden the story
Like,
was.
That's a crazy move
Yeah.
for a character to make.
Yeah. They did really say, hey, these guys in the double dungeon, they survived, given Sung Jinwoo's sacrifice. Like, wow, these characters must be really important.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't good enough to be anywhere near Sung Jinwoo, except for when Sung Jinwoo had to save them again
Exactly.
from Kong Hunter when he was going to kill them.
Yes, exactly.
And then we didn't see them ever again.
Yep.
Like, it's because they weren't good enough to stand next to Sung Jinwoo.
Yeah, so in terms of like characters, like everybody like just does a good job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing with the demon girl, Essel Radiru.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You remember her because she was very important.
Yes.
Yeah,
She got the pink hair, the purple hair.
purple hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her dad, that showed up for 10 seconds. Really
Yeah.
cared about that too. That was really good progression.
Yeah, because like that way he can progress the floors super easily through their
Yeah.
help.
100%.
They saw like, oh my god, Jinwoo is like the guy.
Yeah, and full conversations about the demon lord as well.
Yep,
At
yep.
the top, Demon King, Baron.
Mm-hmm.
That dragon in that fight lasted a long time too.
Dragon was pretty sick.
Yeah, it was for the 3 seconds before he threw a dagger through his neck. What else?
Yeah, I don't know, just like
Yeah.
characters
Keep going.
in the story do not get sidelined whatsoever.
No.
And, they're just always present.
Even the shadows.
Yeah,
Iron,
Mhm.
he had a personality. He was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And like,
he was a dick
yeah.
when he was human, but then
Yeah,
now
when he was human
Yeah,
and
na-
Sung
na-
Jinwoo
now he-
murdered him.
No. He converted him into good.
Oh yeah. He's the savior. He's our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Sung Jinwoo.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why someone who's able to turn enemies into allies.
True. Same thing with Biru, actually.
Exactly.
He turned enemies into and
Dude,
Tusk.
Bureau's gonna like just destroy everybody.
Arguably, he's actually made every enemy an ally.
Exactly, for mankind. That's
For mankind.
That's crazy.
That's true.
That's crazy. Crazy.
I think that it really goes into the audience voting for, the best anime to be Solo Leveling, because I think it's probably like speaking to a lot of lonely people that are looking for friends and looking to be the main character
Yeah.
in their stories
Mhm.
to get stronger, and they really want that. And instead of doing it in the real world, they just watch somebody else do it.
Exactly.
Sung Jinwoo, right?
Exactly.
And I did the same thing too. I loved the anime for sure. I actually did love the anime. It definitely deserved it over Virion.
Basically, if you just want friends, perform necromancy. We're good. You're good. You're golden.
Mm-hmm.
See, life lessons.
Yeah, and
From
none
the
of them
anime.
will speak to you.
Exactly. Life
Yeah.
lessons from anime of the year.
And what else? We went through characters. We went through fights. Story progression.
Yeah, dude. I think we hit the nail on the head here.
Music.
It has it all.
Yeah.
I will say I did like the opening for season 1 more than season 2.
I will say that I also think it deserved better animation than Demon Slayer.
Yeah, that's
Ashura,
weird. Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy how
training
Demon
arc.
Slayer season 3
Yeah,
won
Hishira
best
Training Arc.
animation. Bro, what?
Yeah, I think it probably deserved
Huh?
it over that.
Huh?
I think best action for sure, and best animation. I would probably say, if you're into like the stereotypical anime, like obviously. Like Dan to
Honestly,
Dan
now
has
I
a
think about
different
it, I think it should have won best voice actor too over Mao Mao from Apothecary Diaries.
You don't believe that?
I believe that.
Do you actually believe
I believe that. Yes, I do.
I
It
put
should
your mic down for a second and say that with a straight face to the camera.
It should have won all the awards. Now that I think about it.
Yeah,
because
the three that it missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should have won best romance too.
True.
Because of that girl that.
Okay. I think we're done.
Yeah.
We're done this episode.
Yeah. Look, best anime. Let's talk about it for half a second. If the percentages are true about how the voting goes, arguably it's not on the fans. I've seen a lot of conversations from different YouTubers and, critiques of it saying like, oh, it's because of the Western fans that have like come into anime that are just like looking for these fights and these sick fucking duels and everything. That's why Solo Leveling won best anime, because of the Glazers and the Aura Farmers. If what they said about the voting is true, there's no way Solo Leveling could have won off of the backs of just the fans. And that tells me that some people on that judge panel,
Yeah, the experts.
they said Solo Leveling was better than Frieren, Delicious in Dungeon, Apothecary Diaries, Kaiju number 8,
And Dan Dan Dan.
and Dan Dan Dan. That means that the experts that they hired as judges said that.
Yep.
That they overruled what could have been a fan vote for Frieren.
And that's why
And that's why Solo Leveling deserved
Anime of the Year.
Anime
Anime of the Year.
Year.
Boom. There you have it, guys.
There you have it. Let us know.
I don't want to hear
below.
no complaints about this anymore.
Let us know down below who you voted for, so we can get a good percentage of what actually happened. And if you were a judge from the Crunchyroll Awards, please let us know how that happened. All right, and we will catch you on the next episode of Bros Park.
We'll support you.
Please like and subscribe. We'll catch you later. Peace.
Peace.